Selected 1. Take a minute to breathe and let this settle in your chest. This Monday is not a random square on a calendar. It's an appointment etched in heaven long before you were born. Everything seems quieter right now because the noise of the world has been muted so that a higher voice can speak directly to you. That restlessness you've been carrying wasn't a flaw. It was destiny's whisper, the agitation that made you feel like you didn't fit in. That was the sign that you were never supposed to fit into small molds. You're the uncut diamond that others misjudged. Trials didn't come to destroy you. They came to draw out brilliance that can't be revealed any other way. Tomorrow marks a tipping point. The things you thought were losses were really reroutes. Heaven has been moving you like a shepherd moves a flock away from dangerous terrain. Every rejection was a redirection. Every closed door was a shield. Every season of silence was preparation. Now the fire has done its work. Now the pressure has done its work. The person arriving at your door represents not just a man, but a manifestation. Elon Musk, or whoever he symbolizes in your story, isn't coming because you need saving. He's coming because your light reached a level where it can no longer be hidden. This is heaven's way of showing you that your preparation has collided with opportunity. The old terms used in Zechariah. Chapter 4, verse 3. The Lord of hosts declares, "Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit." Are those words weighing on you? History is not them. They are now prophesying over you. Human might and cunning did not bring about your exposure. What God put within of you before you were ever born is being unlocked by the Spirit of God flowing over your life. Consider a sailboat that has spent too much time moored in a port. Storms were weathered, repairs were performed, and patience seemed to have no end. However, one day the wind surges in and the sails are raised. The seemingly forgotten boat shakes violently all of a sudden. You are that today. Your sails are being caught by the breeze of the Spirit. Now is the time for you to take action on Monday. Selected 1. I have to be honest with you. The conflicts you encountered were not arbitrary. Before you even realized you had a crown, the adversary caught a peek of it. He made an effort to bury you in dread, delay, and disgrace. But here you are, rising, not shattered. It's time for the reveal. Respond if these words strike a chord with your soul. As a statement that you are entering the light of your actual self. Press like. Spread the word so that another selected person who is suffering and hiding may get too. Write a remark expressing your inner stirrings in your own words. Let it be your act of prophecy. Join our family if you haven't already so that you don't have to go through this journey alone. It's not over yet. This is only the start. This Monday is not like the others. Heaven honors the day with a magnificent headline in your tail. That's precisely who you'll become. Nevertheless, a major conflict may arise inside you soon as you hear these words. One voice says, "This is for you. Step into it." Another whispers, "Maybe not. Maybe this is just another passing moment." But let me remind you, hesitation has stolen enough from you already. Today is not the day for doubt. Today is the day to silence the lesser voices and lean into the voice that has been calling you all along. You're not standing at the edge of emptiness. You're standing at the edge of unveiling. Think of a curtain in a grand theater. For a long time, it hangs heavy, hiding the masterpiece behind it. Then in one moment, the curtain is drawn back and the audience gasps. That is your life right now. The curtain is moving, and what will be seen is not weakness, not brokenness, but strength shaped through fire. I urge you, chosen one, don't just listen and walk away unchanged. Let this message settle into your bones. Type him in to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Let it become fuel in your spirit. Speak it out loud if you must. This Monday marks my becoming. Words have power, and heaven listens when you declare what God has already spoken over you. So rise with courage. Walk into this week not as the one who barely survived the storm, but as the one who carries authority because of it. The world is about to see what heaven has always known. You are chosen, and your true self is finally being revealed. You were never ordinary, and deep inside, you have always known it. The way you saw the world was different. The way you felt things more deeply than others. Sometimes it felt like a burden, sometimes like a curse. But in truth, it was the mark of being set apart. Ordinary people can easily ignore pain, drown in distractions, or blend into the noise of the crowd. But you could not because you were never made to. There's a pattern you have carried since childhood. You were misunderstood by peers, perhaps even by family. They wondered why you could not simply follow the flow. They saw your silence as weakness when in reality it was depth. They judged your intensity as strangeness, when in truth it was sensitivity to the unseen. And when you tried to shrink yourself to fit in, something inside resisted, as if your very spirit knew it was rebelling against its true design. Think of an eagle raised among pigeons. At first, it tries to walk the same way, pecking at scraps on the ground. But no matter how hard it tries, something feels wrong. Then one day it spreads its wings and feels the rush of air beneath them. Suddenly everything makes sense. That is you. You were never designed for the ground. You were designed for the heights. Your uniqueness is not an accident. The book of Psalms, chapter 139, verse 14 proclaims, "I praise you, for I am fearfully made, wonderfully made by your hand." Your creations are amazing. I'm completely aware of this. Heaven never made you doubt yourself, even while the world did. You were knit with purpose from the start. Each thread has a purpose. Think about the tale of a single selected person who followed a path of seclusion. He spent years attempting to achieve success in the same manner as others around him. He replicated the same plans and pursued the same aspirations, but nothing worked. He was worn out from failure after failure. His life changed when he screamed out one night, "Why can't I just be like everyone else?" and heard God answer, "Because you were never meant to." He stopped trying to imitate and started listening for his own guidance. Before long, doors that he had not even been looking for opened. His distinctiveness turned into a strength, and his difference became his fate. Many others have seen the light you carry, even if they are unable to identify it. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Jealousy has followed you because of this. This is the reason for the early rejection. Not everyone is prepared for exposure, and light exposes. It's possible that people avoided you because you forced them to face aspects of themselves they were afraid to face, not because you were unworthy. What seemed to be loneliness was really a sign of differentiation. Imagine irregular keys are interchangeable and mass-produced to suit a variety of doors. However, you're not a mass-produced key. You're a precise key cut expert. Special edges made for a specific use. You never fit through doors that others have opened because of this. Opportunities that worked for others closed for you because of this. You weren't turned away. You were saved. You too bear a sacred burden. It has sometimes left you exhausted. You observed things others missed, carried burdens others disregarded, and experienced emotions more intensely than others. Training was done with this weight. Your soul has been trained in sensitivity, discernment, and resilience, just as a musician practices scales for years before performing. Under it, the ordinary would crumble. However, you persevere because you are destined for more. Let this reality sink in, chosen one. Being unique is not a source of guilt. Your signature is on it. It may be considered odd by the world. Heaven, however, calls it chosen. You are never typical, and you are not different because of this Monday. It only shows what was there all along. Additionally, if you take a close look at your path, you will see God's fingerprints. Each locked door represented safety rather than cruelty. Every waiting season was a precious preparation rather than a waste of time. You were being prepared for a position that was too important to hurry. You could have been called odd, challenging, or even broken by the world. However, such designations were frauds that couldn't adequately describe your true being. You were never typical. You were never intended to become inconspicuous. The mediocrity-induced stillness is broken by your very presence. So raise your head. Accept the distinction that has defined you from the start. Your identity is not formed by this Monday. It only reveals the wealth that had been concealed the whole time. You have borne weights that others were unable to. Much of your tale may be explained by that fact. Life put burdens on your shoulders from a young age that would have destroyed someone else. Family disputes, setbacks, and losses that no one knew you had to deal with were silently endured with no gratitude or cheers. However, their covert conflicts were not a sign of weakness. They were indications of heavenly confidence. Only the strong can be put to the test like that in heaven. It resembles the forge used by a blacksmith. With little heat, ordinary metal bends. However, steel has to be burned at a temperature higher than most people can tolerate. Strike after strike, blow after blow. It is formed, honed, and hammered. The purpose of the hammer was to shape it into a weapon that could withstand and protect, not to destroy it. You are that steel, selected one. Every setback has only strengthened your fortitude. James 1 verse 3 reminds us that persistence is a result of testing your faith, and that perseverance is evident in you. Others gave up under duress, yet you got back up from the ashes. You continued to move step by step while others were immobilized by anguish. There's a tale of someone who bore an intolerable burden for years, even when their legs shook. She felt as if she was the foundation of everyone else's universe. But in the silence of her chamber, no one saw her own tears. She questioned if anybody was aware of the fissures that were developing in her heart. But as time went on, she made an unexpected discovery. Inside her, the massive masses were laying a foundation. She developed resilience for future generations as well as for herself. What seemed to be a curse became her crown. You have also experienced times when others were broken. The betrayals that wounded your spirit. The evenings when you sat by yourself and gazed at the ceiling. When your prayers didn't appear to be heard. Those were not wasted moments. They have been shaping a ship that is deep enough to hold honor. Consider the pressing, stretching, and firing of a clay jar. The end product is a vessel that can store live water, but the procedure is painful. Your anguish has caused that. It has made room in you for authority, knowledge, and compassion. I now want you to take a minute to remember this. In the comments, write 3 words. I put up with this. Why? Because it matters that you agree. By writing it down, you are certifying to yourself and to heaven that the hammer only molded you, that the weight did not triumph, and that the flames did not shatter you. After reading what you have to say, others will understand they have also survived, and your collective testimonies will form a resilient chorus. Selected one. Don't hate the seasons that are heavy. They were intended to show you as unbreakable, not to describe you as broken. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. You are revealing who you really are this Monday, and this is a part of that revealing. Your troubles do not make you a victim. Through them, you are the bearer of power. Additionally, realize that the weight you carried was never chosen at random. It demonstrated that you were trusted with more difficult tasks than you could handle. A burden is never wasted by God. What you carried in quiet was preparing you to make an impact in areas you haven't yet entered. Every tear poured and every restless night turned into a seed. Although seeds seem little and unimportant, they grow after they are buried. Your suffering has already sown resilience, insight, and compassion that will flourish long after you are gone. There was no waste. Not even the times you fell had no purpose. A lot of people question why their route seems simpler than yours. However, convenience does not equate to fate. People with unbreakable potential are given a lot of responsibility. Your struggles weren't an indication that you were abandoned. They served as capacity confirmations. You were designed to carry a lot. Therefore, you carried a lot. Authority has also been awakened by the challenge of your faith. Your speech has changed. Your words were born in fire. Thus they have weight. While others discuss hope, you are the embodiment of it. While others discuss persistence, you have experienced it firsthand. Classroom instruction cannot impart such power. Only in the furnace of hardships is it forged. For this reason, people will find power in your tale. The identical hardships that attempted to bury you will turn into the liberating testimony. Saying, "I endured this," will inspire others to do the same. You are not ashamed of your scars. They serve as evidence. Thus, proceed with assurance. The burden of the past no longer defines you. You are entering the day's revelation. You are not broken by the burdens. They gave you a strength that the world can see. For this, you were selected. The reason the trip has been so difficult is because of the invisible battle for your life. You often felt as if every movement you took created invisible opposition, while others seemed to go through their days with no difficulty. This isn't fantasy. It isn't a coincidence. It's the truth of being selected. Your internal task is heavy, which is why the conflict surrounding you has been intense. The idea of you realizing who you are makes certain forces shudder. Attacks began early, even in infancy, for this reason. Statements made against you. Situations intended to break your spirit. Patterns that attempted to recur across your family. It wasn't all random. The strongest opponents of darkness are those who possess light that can destroy it. Without a doubt, you are the source of that brightness. Consider a chessboard. Targeting the strongest components comes first. Pawns may move silently and unnoticed. However, the game is decided by the queen's movement. Similarly, the part you were meant to play in life attracted the attention of spiritual opposition. You're not porn. You were a crucial component of the board at all times. And from the start, the adversary has been aware of it. Long before his fate was completely known, the prophet Daniel had to contend with similar conflicts. His dedication to prayer sparked opposition in invisible worlds. He was informed by an angel that spiritual forces were preventing him from responding right now. If Daniel, a man who was marked by God, experienced invisible combat, and it surprises you that the same thing has happened to you, know that the purpose of the unseen conflict is to awaken you, not to frighten you. The bewilderment disappears once you comprehend the conflict. You come to see that despite the difficulties, odd opposition, and slammed doors, there were concerted efforts to thwart fate. But because you're still here, all the attempts failed. Darkness did not prevail, as shown by the fact that you are reading these words. There's a tale about a young guy who consistently encountered peculiar challenges. Whenever a chance approached, something fell apart. Relationships ended. Drained phenols. Health stumbled. He believed he was cursed for years. But eventually, he understood that his burden was the reason he was being battled. The opposition persisted even after he at last gave himself completely to God's way. But even in the midst of strife, he started to recognize successes. He discovered that rather than canceling his task, the invisible conflict was a confirmation of it. This is reflected in your tale. There have been days when everything appeared to be against you and the resistance seemed overpowering. However, every conflict has improved your judgment. You now know how to tell when there is peace and when it is being taken. You've grown pattern-seeing eyes, whispers that others miss, ears that listen. Being sensitive is not a sign of weakness. It's a weapon. Imagine a lighthouse on a rough beach. There is a tremendous crash of waves. The lighthouse remains still despite the cries of storms. Rather, it beams brighter, directing ships past hazardous situations. In the invisible conflict, it is your duty. Even when the storms are still raging, your presence gives others direction. Your light must shine stronger in a darker darkness. Your tale is explained by the ancient words found in Ephesians 6 verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. The fight was never really about jobs or people. Under certain conditions, it was with forces who understood what you were carrying. Don't misunderstand the conflict. It has been told by the opponent that you are cursed, unworthy, or unfortunate. This is all untrue. The war's severity is proof of your worth. Empty fields are not guarded by soldiers. They are positioned in the vicinity of treasure. The riches inside you increases with the weight of the conflict. And be aware that the invisible battle is not unending. There is a limit to every quarrel. The weight of truth ultimately brings down any plan. You're not meant to endure war indefinitely. It is your destiny to go through it in triumph. Your perseverance already demonstrates that you are stronger than the opponents who attempted to destroy you. Selected 1. Recognize the struggles for what they were when you look back. Call confirmation. You are not defined by your failure. They have set you up for success. The invisible fight has been raging. However, you remain intact, bearing the same light it attempted to put out. Darkness is terrified by your light. You have thus always experienced pressure that others did not. The mood changes as soon as you enter a room. They perceive it, even if they don't express it. You are carrying something invisible yet indisputable. While some people react against you without cause, others are attracted to you. Personality or preference are irrelevant. It has to do with the unhidden light. Imagine a candle burning in a pitch-black cavern. It violates the law of darkness, regardless of the size of the flame. When light comes, the shadows have to run. That's what your life is all about. The darkness cannot prevail, no matter how weak you feel or how little your spark seems. The invisible world is affected only by your decision to stand, persevere, and choose hope. Your presence carries power. Others sense it, even if you may not. You may cut through sadness with words of love. Walking consistently, especially during difficult circumstances, inspires others to persevere. The adversary is aware that you are not like the others. Because your light poses a danger to the darkness, it has been fiercely rejected. You hear the words of the Apostle John. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Light is not what you're fighting for. You're light already. You get up every day. You are telling darkness that it has a certain amount of time. I want to take a moment now and talk clearly. It's like a beacon, this place where these words reach you. It remains in place because many people decide to keep the flame alive, not because of the efforts of a single individual. Pressing like is equivalent to adding oil to the light. The fire remains constant throughout the night with each drop. To share is to open your home's window, allowing light to flood out so that those who are lost in the dark might find their way back. In order for the beam to lead you once again when the storms come, you must subscribe in order to secure yourself to this lighthouse. Additionally, there is another method to stand with this light if it moves your heart. Consider a vineyard situated on a hill. The custodian takes good care of it. However, it thrives because of the efforts of several people who water, prune, and safeguard it. Donations are like watering the vineyard. They are freely given and not requested, but they guarantee that the plants will continue to provide fruit for those who are thirsty and hungry. Some people use a little cup, while others use a whole jar, but everyone helps with the harvest. This is never a must. It's an invitation. If you decide not to offer, you're not less. If, on the other hand, your soul says, I want to help keep this vineyard alive, then joyfully pour forth your contribution. Selected 1. Unseen bonds are already being broken by your light. Darkness knows the force of your presence, even if you don't. And each decision you make to foster that light via your faith, fortitude, and assistance turns into another affirmation that the darkness cannot prevail. As you embrace yourself more on Monday, keep in mind that you are an unquenchable flame. That's what every storm you've weathered has shown. You shine because you are who you are, not because you strive. Furthermore, no darkness can defeat you. Nevertheless, you could still struggle with skepticism despite all of this illumination. It's normal to question if your flame is sufficient. If your little actions are important, remember that even the little candle may ward against the darkest darkness. Even when you can't see it, your influence is more than you think. Imagine waves on a body of water. Circles formed by a single stone thrown into a lake extend much beyond what the eye first perceives. Similarly, the decisions you make, the times you choose to choose love over wrath, faith over fear, and hope over despair, have an impact on people you may never meet. Heaven records what the invisible world observes. Therefore, don't consider praise or recognition as a gauge of your value. The light you bring into obscure areas determines your worth, not how loudly the audience celebrates. You have already changed the lives of many others by refusing to give up when it would have been easy to stop shining. Have faith in this. Shadows may push, storms may roar. However, your light was not meant to be ingested. The purpose was to shine. It's not only about who you are becoming this Monday. Additionally, it is about the individuals who will be guided by your light. Old chains start to come loose at this point. Your life has been in cycles for years. patterns of setbacks, disappointments, or abrupt breakdowns just when you were ready to go. These weren't random occurrences. They were chains made from generations before, from wars you had to fight but didn't initiate. However, the attitude of this Monday is different. It is the sound of doors swinging open, locks shattering, and iron splitting. Imagine a prisoner who has spent so much time in a dark cell that the shackles have become a part of their body. Freedom seems surreal when it first arrives. It seems odd to be without the weight since it has been there for so long. Because you're being liberated from what you believe to be normal, which was never normal. This season may make you feel uneasy. You were never really who you were. Chapter 54 of Isaiah contains the old words. Weapons were created, and verse 17 reminds us that no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. They were pointed, indeed. They took off. None of them were able to destroy you, but they did strike at you. You are still here despite their attempt to shackle you. And those shackles are coming loose today. I remember a lady who battled recurring periods of near success. Each time she got close to making progress, something went wrong. Opportunities disappeared, a relationship fell apart, or money fell apart. She believed she was cursed for years. However, the cycle started to break when she started praying differently, saying that she was not constrained by her family's shortcomings and pronouncing life over her future. Change was not limited to her personal life. She never experienced the independence that her children did. Their beginning was her breaking. You are entering that kind of situation as well. You won't be stopped by what stopped others before you. Today, the addictions, anxieties, and unspoken failure patterns lose their power. Similar like a glass ceiling breaking over your head. The imperceptible obstacles that prevented you from soaring are dissolving. Picture yourself at a house's threshold. Rooms with locked doors and shadows are behind you. Sunlight pours through a door that swings wide in front of you. As the hinges give way, you hear them moan. The sound of shackles snapping is that. And you leave behind what previously imprisoned you as you pass. Here's the reality, however. Agreement is necessary for freedom. You have to leave the cell, but you may break the chains. Near the shattered shackles, a lot of people remain. They continue to act as if they are confined. Your tale won't be like that. You take the stage today. What has always been yours is yours now. You are now invited to participate in a prophetic deed. In the comments, write the number 444. Why 444? Because it represents heavenly protection, divine alignment, and open doors. You are writing more than simply numbers when you write it. Your statements are significant because you are saying, I walk out of old chains and into divine order. I align with heaven's timing. I embrace my freedom. They produce ambience. Let this little gesture serve as a signal for you to enter something new. Don't undervalue this moment's strength. The scene will show chains that have been broken in the unseen. The seemingly unattainable work prospect. The seemingly dead connection. The health that seemed irreparable. Look for indications of change. Freedom in the natural world inevitably follows freedom in the soul. And keep in mind this picture of a bird with its cage, door open whenever uncertainty attempts to reappear. Afraid to fly, the bird may bounce about inside for a time. However, the wide sky is beckoning. It eventually spreads its wings and takes to the skies. You're that. Behind you lies the cage. The sky is in front of you. You have an option, so go with assurance. Old cycles aren't working. You're not entitled to old shackles. You started to imagine yourself free on Monday, the day the shackles came off. Furthermore, writing 444 is more than just inputting numbers. You are making a prophetic statement. The number 4 is used often to represent foundation, stability, and divine harmony. In the same way that a four-legged table remains sturdy. A new, unbreakable foundation is currently being laid for your life. The previous instability has vanished. They're creating a new order. It conveys the idea of open doors as well. 1-4 could seem to be a gateway or a corner, but 3 of them combined create a sequence of apertures, serving as a reminder that by proclaiming Quattroentos Quarentiatro, many doors are being opened for you simultaneously. You claim that all of the blocked paths are opening. I decide to go through. At one point, God displays a mirror, not a glass one, but the mirror of his truth, his spirit, and his word. Your face is not all that is seen in the mirror. It reveals who you are. It shows who you were always intended to be, not simply who you believe yourself to be. That same mirror is in front of you on Monday. Layers of a phony identity start to come off as you look. You have been seeing yourself through the skewed mirrors of other people's views for far too long. People said you were too silent, too demanding, too damaged, or too unique. They believed they understood the complete narrative after reading bits and pieces of your story, but their reflections were broken mirrors, incapable of capturing your design's completeness. You are now entering the clarity of God's viewpoint, which is the only genuine reflection that counts. Picture a sculptor working on marble. The block first seems unremarkable, lifeless, and weighty. However, pieces fall with every blow, exposing movement, form, and beauty. The stone itself remained unchanged. Essentially, the statue was always inside. The sculptor just took away what wasn't there. With each false phrase that is uttered over you, the mirror of identity is doing that for you. Your genuine shape is emerging as every falsehood you had about yourself is being chipped away. In his epistle to the Corinthians, the apostle reminds us. Zane, chapter 3. The Lord, who is the Spirit, is transforming us all into his image with ever-increasing splendor as we view his glory with our faces uncovered. It's not only about seeing God here. The realization that you see yourself mirrored in him is what it's all about. Your actual identity is revealed by his magnificence. Think about the tale of a young guy who felt invisible all the time. Teachers didn't notice him. Even his own family undervalued him, and friends shunned him. He grew up thinking he didn't matter. During a prayer session one day, however, he felt God declare, "I have called you by name. You are mine." The words turned into a mirror. For the first time, he regarded himself as chosen rather than ignored. Everything changed after that realization. His self-assurance increased. His choices changed, and what had seemed to be sealed doors opened. You are entering that kind of situation as well. You will no longer identify yourself by your flaws or scars when you look into the mirror of truth. Rather, you will understand that the wounds themselves are proof of survival, and that surviving is proof of calling. You are more than just a survivor. You are undergoing a transformation. Imagine a chrysalis giving way to a butterfly. It seems to be a difficult procedure. The creature struggles despite its disarray, pushing against the shell that used to protect it. However, without the battle, when it breaks free, its wings would never get powerful enough to fly. It is completely different in its reflection, a flying butterfly instead of a crawling caterpillar. You are now at that mirror moment. Responsibility may also be seen in the identity mirror. You can't stay the same once you realize who you really are. You are invited to assume the power of your own self. Just as a prince who has been nurtured in exile must finally take his kingdom. The objective of the revelation is purpose, not pride. It serves as a reminder that you were made for more than just surviving. You were made to have an impact, to provide direction, to bring light to areas that are in dire need. Don't be scared of what you see in the mirror. Sometimes it shows places that are still healing, and other times it shows power you were unaware you possessed. The truth includes both. Stepping into change means having a clear understanding of who you are. The Spirit shapes you rather than shames you by revealing your identity. Thus, you must stand bravely today as the mirror of heaven is raised before you. See yourself through the splendor that is emerging in the present, not through the shattered reflections of the past. This has nothing to do with changing who you are. Remembering who you were always supposed to be is the key. Then when you eventually look in the mirror and realize who you are, it won't be like meeting a complete stranger. Coming home will be the feeling, because they were never random. Every scar, every holdup, and every waiting season will all make sense at once. To reveal the actual design, they were all chipping away at the marble. Make this your anchor. The reflection you're now seeing is permanent. It never dies. It is impossible for circumstances or human opinion to undo what God has revealed. The mirror of heaven reflects not just your current self, but also your future self. And that picture is just going to get better. Have you not been trailed like a shadow by rejection? The jobs that went missing. These friendships dissolved for no apparent cause. Your heart has the scars of the doors that slammed shut as you were ready to enter each of them. Reactions sometimes felt like desertion. It muttered falsehoods. You are insufficient. They don't want you. You'll never fit in. But there is much more to the reality. Rejection never had the last say in your life. In disguise, it was heavenly protection. Suppose you were a shepherd on a mountain trail with his livestock. The grass seems attractive and verdant on one side. The route seems small and challenging from the other side. The shepherd keeps the sheep from going in the direction of what seems to be enticing. To the sheep, it feels like something positive has been taken away from you. However, they're unable to see the cliff that is concealed by the grass. What seemed to be an opportunity turned out to be peril. Likewise, the doors that shut on you weren't designed to hurt you. They were protecting you from unseen cliffs. Through the prophet Jeremiah, the Spirit communicated. Chapter 29.11. The Lord says, "Because I know what I have planned for you, plans to help you rather than hurt you, intends to provide you with a future and hope." These are not abstract terms. They are intimate. The ache response. You are getting closer to those exact plans with every setback. Think about a guy who pursued a vocation he thought would lead to success for years. Every time he was close to being promoted, something went wrong. He became so frustrated that he felt useless. When he eventually followed a new route that matched his innate abilities years later, he came to the realization that each door he had closed had prevented him from leading a life that would have sapped his soul. What seemed to be rejection turned out to be redirection. You may have comparable chapters in your own story. You believed that love had left you. You were really being saved from a connection that would have destroyed you. You believed you had failed at work. However, heaven was aware that staying there would have made you less radiant. You believed you were left out. However, in reality, you were being kept for a location that not only accepts but also celebrates your existence. Imagine a gardener cutting down a vine. The untrained eye perceives it as harsh. The branches are pruned. Green leaves drop off. However, the gardener is aware that the only way to produce additional fruit is to prune. The vine will grow wild and produce little if it is not trimmed. Rejection is not the cutting. It's getting ready. Your rejections have shaped you into a more resilient person than you could have ever dreamed. Resilience was also etched into you by rejection. Every no taught you that other people's views do not determine your value. Each betrayal served as a reminder that you need a basis that goes beyond mere human acceptance. You gradually and painfully learn to ground yourself on reality rather than praise. And now you stand stronger than you thought you could be because of those teachings. Rejection has a certain beauty that is only apparent in retrospect. Your life has flowed in unexpected directions, much like a river that has been rerouted around a rock. The distraction seemed unfair at first, but over time, the new route led to the discovery of lush banks and waterfalls that you otherwise would not have discovered. God has been providing you with that, transforming each blocked route into a diversion that leads to plenty. Change your viewpoint when you reflect on the times that caused you the greatest pain. The years weren't squandered, not evidence of failure. They acted as shields, protecting you from danger and pointing you in the direction of bigger things. It was not a curse to be rejected. It served as defense. It was a finer narrative than you had imagined, written by the hand of God. Selected one. Continue to spread this truth. You've never really been left behind. The past rejections demonstrate God's presence rather than his lack of it. Perhaps now that you're looking back, you can start to see the pattern more clearly. Every door that was closed was a whisper of love that said, "Not here, not this. Something greater awaits." Unseen danger was present in the same locations where you felt excluded. Preservation was what seemed to be loss. What seemed to be the conclusion was really a secret beginning. Allow this to sink into your soul. Being rejected does not mean that you were wronged. For you, it was a rescue. Each no served as a shield. Every door that is closed is a diversion. A hand guiding you toward the place where you actually belong after every setback. Every chosen life has times when there are just a few options left. At a crossroads, you see that one way is broad, cozy, and full with voices you know, while the other is narrow, unsure, and oddly bright. Obedience is put to the test here, not the type of compliance that comes from ease, but the sort that you have to pay for, the sort that, when your comprehension is exhausted, demands faith. Consider Abraham, who was summoned to leave his birthplace without even knowing his destination. He must have seemed stupid to his neighbors as he ventured into the unknown and away from stability. Obedience, however, set him up for success. Similarly, the intersection in front of you is not arbitrary. They are revered. Tomorrow is shaped by your answer now. The divine word states in Deuteronomy 30 verse 19, I have placed blessings and curses, life and death in front of you. Now decide what kind of life you and your kids can have. This is what the crossroads is all about. Heaven approaches near, whispering, and two paths spread out, one toward comfort and compromise, the other toward calling and covenant. Decide to live. A young lady is said to have stood at such a choice. 2 employment offers were made to her. One was rich but soul-crushing, while the other was less glamorous but in line with her mission. Before realizing that the broad route of money would leave her empty, she struggled in prayer. She decided on the limited route of calling, even though it would lead to genuine satisfaction. Years later, she was thankful that one act of obedience changed her course in life and gave her access to opportunities she never would have thought possible. There are times like that in your own life. Perhaps it has to do with relationships, a profession, or deciding to let go of things that have been preventing you from moving forward. No matter what it is, the stress you experience is real. It's the pressure of eternity on your now. Your choice here will have an impact far beyond this week. Imagine a journeyer standing at a woodland fork. There are tracks on one walkway that seems to be well-worn. The other is thin with very little marking. However, you see sunshine peeking through the nearby woods. Which will you pick? The lit path or the familiar tracks? This is your crossroads metaphor. I now want you to reply in a straightforward but impactful manner. In the comments, write, I chose him. Why? Since your words are more than simply letters shown on a screen. Heaven, and they have an accord. You affirm that fear is not the driving force behind your decision by entering those 3 words. By coercion or ease, but by giving up. You're implying that I follow God's will even if it means losing up on something wonderful. Recognize that compliance is usually the most rewarding path, even when it is not always the simplest. Your fate is altered by every act of surrender. You can unlock doors you couldn't open on your own with each step of faith. You will find that the narrow route is full with presence, provision, and calm that cannot be purchased, even if it may first seem lonely. Don't hate the weight of this moment, chosen one. The intersection is an invitation rather than a trap. Heaven is watching, encouraging, and pushing you to live. The future you dreaded will change into the one you were meant for as you decide to obey. Saying, I choose him, is more than just expressing a fleeting feeling. You are making a decision that will change the course of your life. This decision turns into a spiritual compass, guiding you toward the landscapes of destiny and away from cycles of compromise. Even if it may not seem like much right now, obedience always yields transformational results. Imagine Israel in front of the Red Sea. Although it would have required bondage, the simple option would have been to return to Egypt and the life they were used to. The decision to go into the unthinkable was more difficult. However, the waves separated as they obeyed. When you choose to walk in God's path, the same principle applies. Seemingly insurmountable seas start to give way to you. Crossroads are sacred because of this. They are about legacy as much as the present. The obedience you choose now will benefit your family, your kids, and even people who are watching you from distance. Indeed, one may have a generational impact. Additionally, a single concession might bind generations to unintended cycles. Thus, take a moment to understand this carefully. Crossing paths is not a penalty. It's an invitation. Heaven is entrusting you with a choice that will last a lifetime. And by responding with submission, you open yourself up to a benefit that will continue long after this Monday is over, in addition to your personal liberation. A crown has been made for you, not a tarnishing crown of gold, a crown of perseverance, splendor, and unwavering honor rather than a crown of fading renown. Not everyone receives this crown. It is just for those who don't give up, for those who maintain their faith while walking through flames. You're one of them. Consider a runner in a marathon. It's a long race. The body becomes exhausted. Despite the loud cries of temptation to stop, the runner continues to go ahead, one stride at a time, until the finish line is in sight. In the end, endurance, rather than speed, is what wins the gold or the title. Heaven sees you like that. Even if your race wasn't the smoothest, you haven't given up. In a letter to Christians, the Apostle Paul discussed this crown and reminded them that athletes strive for a transient reward. However, we strive for an everlasting one. Your crown is impervious to corruption. It doesn't collect dust. You can't steal it. And every act of obedience, every step you take in trust, and every tear that falls but does not wipe out your hope. These are all like jewels being placed in your crown. Now, take a time to digest this picture. Consider an artisan who works through the night, arranging each jewel in a regal crown with care. Every gem symbolizes a phase of your tenacity. One for the evenings when you prayed while crying. One for the times you silently bore hardships. One for the times when you resisted letting resentment control you. Every diamond is evidence that your perseverance has not gone unappreciated. What the Apostle Peter wrote in his first epistle. Verse 4 of chapter 5, the glare. And the crown of glory will be given to you when the head shepherd shows up. A crown that will always be there. An honorable award that will never fade is ready for you. This crown is neither transient or brittle. Eternity is contained inside it. A splendor untarnished by time, corrosion, or deterioration. I wish to talk about anything useful here. This area serves as a garden-like reminder of your crown. Only when several hands care to a garden can it thrive. The blooms are kept alive by pressing as if you were watering the soil. Sharing is like sowing seeds in a different field, allowing beauty to flourish where there was none before. Subscribing is like being a frequent visitor to a garden, ensuring that the roots are well established. For individuals who are agitated, there's an alternative method of caring for this garden. A contribution is similar to providing fertilizer, freely given, not required, but forced, to help the earth yield even more fruitful crops. Some bring a basket, while others just a handful. However, every contribution strengthens the garden, increases its yield, and increases its capacity to support others in need of encouragement. To be clear, pressure is never the issue here. Nobody is looming over you making demands. It serves as an invitation and a means of participating in the garden care task. Some brought food, some oil, and some coins, much as in the early days of the church. Every present was unique, but every present was lovely. The attitude of love that underpinned them was what counted. Imagine carrying a light at night. A single flame may be maintained by one person. However, the light becomes stronger and helps many people navigate the darkness when others provide oil. When you decide to support, that is what occurs, together with other lights. Yours ensures that the flame never goes out. Additionally, remember that you are doing more than merely maintaining words. Testimonies are being sustained by you. Every act of kindness guarantees that someone in despair will find light just when they need it most. Likes, shares, subscriptions, and donations are all ripples of hope rather than actual transactions. Go back to the crown now. Imagine putting it on your own head. With thankfulness, not with pride. It is laden with diamonds of perseverance rather than riches. Every decision to maintain faith. Every time you opted for light instead of darkness. Each season, you don't give up. The crown shines because of them. Thus, proceed with assurance. We don't forget you. It's not a pointless run. The crown you're wearing is proof that you persevered. And you're entering a time when that perseverance will pay off. And keep in mind that no force of evil can take away your crown as you uphold that truth. More than your own survival led to your selection. You were selected for a change in generation. Your life's narrative is not only about you. It is about creating new roads for for people who will follow you and breaking the patterns that have shackled those who came before you. Your shoulders have felt heavier because of this. You are carrying the redemption of whole lineages in addition to your own fate. Take a time to reflect on your family's past. You may have seen recurring patterns of poverty, strained relationships, rage, addiction, and dread. It could have seemed that these patterns would always resurface no matter how hard one tried. Yet here you are. The cycle's disruption. God has designated you to declare, "It stops with me." Imagine, Lynn, that the baton has been transferred from runner to runner in a relay race. Someone dropped it. Some people reduced their speed. A few of them ran in circles. However, it is now in your grasp. It weighs more than you anticipated. However, this is not a coincidence. You are running not only for yourself, but also for your predecessors and future generations. Additionally, you will diligently carry the baton to the end, unlike others who stumbled. This kind of restoration was mentioned by the prophet Hosea in chapter 2, verse 15. There, I shall restore her vineyards and turn the Acre Valley into a portal of hope. She will react there like she did when she was younger and when she first left Egypt. Your life is an example of this. Where valleys of hardship formerly existed, a door of promise is now opening. There is a tale about a guy who was raised in a quiet and resentful household. Arguments broke out throughout conversations. Hope felt unattainable, and love was in little supply. He might have told his own children the same tale. However, he made a different decision. When there was no apology, he was forgiving. When no one else prayed, he did. When it would have been easy to be angry, he chose compassion. His family started to become better over time. The environment his children grew up in was quite different from the one he experienced as a youngster. He turned to become the pivot of a generational change. You stand as that hinge as well. You have a lot of options. History is being rewritten by them. You are doing more than just altering your life when you choose faith over fear. You are sowing a seed for your offspring as well as for future generations. In addition to safeguarding your reputation, choosing integrity over compromise lays the groundwork for those who will carry it forward. Consider a massive oak tree. Nothing grew for years because the earth was dry. One seed then germinated. It seemed delicate at first, but as time went on, it became robust, spreading its branches widely and providing many people with fruit and shade. You are that oak. You are emerging as the rooted one, the one who creates fertile ground for future generations to thrive on. The shackles that broke off your life, the rejection you bore, and the invisible struggle you have fought. These trials were not all conducted at random. They served as training for this position. You've been molded into a trailblazer, one who enters a realm that others are unable to reach. You will see gates where your folks saw walls. You will see beginnings where others saw ends. To be clear, this change is not only for your family. It's also for the people who are destined to be in your life, friends, communities, and even complete strangers. They will see a new solidity in you that they have never known before. And the legacy you're creating will provide them a refuge. Selected one. That's why you can't quit. The weight of the baton in your hand is excessive. You must maintain the oak in your roots. You have to give birth to the shift you are carrying. There are those who rely on it. Even if they aren't aware of it yet, walk with courage. You're changing, not simply getting by. You are rewriting, not only surviving. It's not only about your reveal this Monday. It is about using you to reveal a whole generation. Additionally, keep in mind that when you feel like you have a lot on your shoulders, it is an indication that you are carrying something larger than yourself. Although the burden of generational change is never easy, it is always worthwhile. The ground you fought for will be walked by those who follow you. They will experience the freedom for which you asked. Your perseverance now will be their legacy tomorrow. Every trip has a special moment when a mantle is handed. Applause and fanfare are not always present. Sometimes it takes place in the shadows of your soul. This Monday is an example of what happens when God places something weighty but holy on your shoulders. A change of mantle. A mantle is more than just a blanket. It is an indication of power, accountability, and divine authorization. Elijah covered Elisha with his cloak, and a new season began with that deed. It now flowed into another existence where it had rested. It's the same with you. What was far away suddenly weighs upon you. Heaven has assessed your potential and determined that you are ready, even if you don't feel it. Imagine a torch being handed via a relay. It is given to the runner because it is their turn to run their portion of the race, not because they are the quickest or most perfect. That runner is you today. You have been given control of the fire. Not only must you carry it, but you must also safeguard it from the winds that would attempt to extinguish its flame. Chapter 1, verse 5 of the book of Joshua expresses this fact. For the rest of your life, nobody will be able to oppose you. I will be with you just as I was with Moses. I promise never to abandon or abandon you. These statements are more than simply old vows. For you, that you're alive. The same God who gave ancient leaders their power is giving you authority right now. A mantle weighs much. Indeed, but it's also freeing. It's heavy because it takes guts. It's liberating because it affirms that you are not the same person you once were. You are entering a more responsible, visionary, and calling realm. You are evolving into a person who bears the tales of those who will come after you in addition to your own. A young guy who felt unworthy of leadership is the subject of a narrative. He questioned his own abilities when others turned to him for answers. He stood with a confidence he had never experienced before. However, as his instructor touched him and said, "The mantle is yours," his situation did not improve overnight. However, his posture did. Knowing that heaven had selected him, he talked more clearly, behaved more bravely, and walked higher. Now is the time to change your posture. You are no longer traveling as a follower because of the mantle you are receiving today. You alone are leading, guiding, and spreading light. Even though you may still be considered average by others, heaven is aware of the weight you now carry. Imagine someone wearing a regal robe draped over their shoulders. It seems too big, too heavy, and too much at first. However, the wearer becomes used to it with time. The robe soon fits them wonderfully as their stature grows and their steps become shorter. That's your mantle's voyage. Now it could seem big, but you'll get used to it. And because this is a divine transfer, I want you to do a prophetic act to seal it. In the comments, type the number 555. Why the number 555? Because it stands for the threefold proof that heaven's hand is on your life, grace doubled, and heavenly favor poured forth in abundance. Grace is 1-5, and wealth of grace is symbolized by 2 5s. 3 5s indicate that you are experiencing an unmerited yet unquestionable surge of empowerment. You are announcing that I am the recipient of this mantle by writing 555. I take on the responsibility and the distinction. I assume the authority that has been set up for me. It has nothing to do with superstition. Words and deeds must be in harmony. Even something as basic as this might serve as a road sign. Keep in mind that these mantles are never provided for comfort. Their purpose is to make an impression. You will be stretched if you wear it. However, it also implies that you will be supported, something you couldn't do on your own. Now, you shall act under the anointing of heaven. Tomorrow, things that were unthinkable yesterday will start to happen. So, move with confidence. You have been given the mantle. It doesn't slide. It is not fading. It stays. You have power for generations to come, not just for yourself, starting this Monday. And the world will notice the difference because the mantle speaks louder than words, not because you spoke louder. And don't back down when you feel its weight. The cloak is evidence of God's faith in you, not of your frailty. If you put on your shoulders, it indicates that He has already assessed your ability. This is why the weight you feel is sacred. It serves as a reminder that heaven has faith in you to do the important responsibilities. You're not alone in bearing it. You will be empowered to completely embody it by the same energy that bestowed it onto you. Your future self is starting to take shape in your mind. They seem like sudden bursts of light in a pitch-black hallway, dazzling peaks that serve as a reminder that there is more to come. They evoke something deep within you, even if you don't always comprehend them. A feeling of destiny urging you forward. Sometimes these images appear in dreams, a whisper that says, "This is who you are becoming." Pictures so clear they stay with you long after you've woken up. Occasionally, They emerge during calm periods when an unexpected mental image of yourself producing, leading, or healing emerges. Sometimes they come in the form of remarks made by people who have a higher opinion of you than you do. These views are all fragments of a mosaic, little shards of color that will eventually come together to create a whole image. Imagine a painter working on a canvas. The brushstrokes seem haphazard, disorganized, and hazy at first. The artist is aware of the ultimate image, yet a passerby could disregard it as pointless. Every layer and every stroke is deliberate. Those strokes resemble your future dreams. Even if they don't seem like much now, they are shaping into something exquisite, meaningful, and accurate. Chapter 2, verse 2 of the book of Habakkuk provides this lesson. Put the vision in writing. On tablets, make it clear, so whomever reads it may flee. That age-old term is a timeless reality. Visions aren't supposed to be passing ideas. They are intended to be noted, recalled, and sought after. Writing down what you have seen in brief moments helps you ground it in reality. It beyond the realm of imagination. It turns into a road plan that directs your actions. There is a tale of a lady who, despite her circumstances, had ambitions of helping others. She had no time or money to follow her passions since she was working long hours at a job that exhausted her. Nevertheless, she recorded the visions on pages that were chock full of thoughts, drawings, and prayers. She discovered those ancient journals waiting for her when doors eventually opened years later. They turned into blueprints, serving as a reminder of her constant burden. She now lives what seemed unattainable at one point. You could seem stronger in the future, more courageous than you feel now, Friar. Contradiction is not what that is. Prophecy is what it is. The goal of the vision is to push you beyond your comfort zone. The same way a seed cannot foresee the tree it will grow into. The vastness of who you are becoming is beyond your comprehension, but enough is shown by the vision to keep you going. Imagine carrying a torch during a gloomy march. You carried an unlit light for years, feeling the weight, but not seeing any flame. The fire is catching now that sparks have struck the wick. You may picture yourself sprinting forward, holding the torch aloft, and helping others navigate the darkness in brief glimpses. It's not a fantasy picture. It's a calling from fate. Additionally, visions serve as a reminder that your starting point is not your limit. Your ends are not determined by your beginnings. Your future self cannot be determined by your previous faults, your surroundings, or your family line. An improved version of yourself, molded by grace, fortified by adversity, and enlightened by divine purpose, is revealed in the vision. It might be overwhelming at first to observe the difference between who you are and who you see in your dreams. However, don't let that gap deter you. It is there to pull you ahead, to encourage your development, and to keep you leaning toward change. Although it doesn't cling to its caterpillar days, the butterfly doesn't hate them either. It advances toward its wings. Therefore, don't ignore visions when they occur. Note them down. Think about them. Allow them to serve as your nighttime compass. Even if you make mistakes or there are delays, the vision will endure. It will wait for you, chosen one, and call for you to get back up. Your future self is not a distant stranger. Inside of you is already waking up, stretching, unfolding, and penetrating. You're invited by the images you see. Embrace them, allow them to lead you, and see how the pieces come together to create the masterpiece that is your destiny. And keep in mind that it was never intended to be tiny, even if skepticism tells you that the vision is too big. What you see are previews, not exaggerations. They are evidence that your destiny has already been predetermined by heaven, and it is bigger, brighter, and more complete than you could have ever imagined. The majority of individuals do not like the fire of refining. Nonetheless, it is among the best presents offered to the selected. What is powerful and permanent is purified by fire, while what is transient and brittle is consumed. Your struggles have been so unrelenting because of this. They were intended to transform you into a vessel fit to carry even more glory, not to kill you. Imagine a silversmith in action. At first look, raw silver seems drab and uninteresting due to its many imperfections. It is repeatedly placed in the furnace by the silversmith, removing everything that doesn't belong each time. When he can see his reflection in the silver, how does he know it's ready? Similarly, God has permitted you to endure fire in order for his image to shine through your life. This reality is expressed in the verses of Zechariah 13, verse 13. I shall test them as one tests gold, refine them as one refines silver, and burn this third. My name will be called, and I shall respond. They will declare that the Lord is their God, and I will respond that they are my people. Your tale is explained in these lines. Although the fire has caused grief, it has also served a purpose. Think about the times when everything you depended on was taken away. Friendships broke down. Opportunities fell apart. Comfort disappeared. You felt vulnerable and exposed. But during those times, the important things came to light. Your perseverance, your faith, and your fortitude. It was never intended for anything else that burn away to remain. According to one narrative, a young lady suffered from sickness, betrayal, and financial catastrophe in the same year. She first believed she would be consumed by the flames. However, she found strength she was unaware she had when she leaned into prayer. Authority, compassion, and knowledge sprang from the ashes. Later on, she would say, "The fire burned everything I thought I needed, but it left me with everything I truly needed,